storied title she ran from her wedding, and stopped a stranger who changed everything. Part 2. Before Lagos opened its eyes that morning, before Danfo buses filled the streets with loud horns, before the city remembered its own noise, Amara was already awake. She stood on a small balcony in Surulere, quietly watching the sky turn from dark blue to pale morning light. The air was warm, the city still stretching and waking. Somewhere a rooster crowed, a kettle whistled in a neighbor's kitchen. Life was moving, but her life was stuck. Inside her room hung her white engagement gown, not for love, not for joy, but because her father had chosen a husband for her, a man she barely knew, a man older than her by almost 15 years, a man with quick money and slower secrets. His name was Mr. Cunnell. Her mother moved in the living room, arranging wedding beads, ironing head ties, preparing everything with quiet obedience. There was no laughter, no music, no celebration, only duty. Amara's heart beat heavily, like a drum echoing inside a small room. She remembered Cunnell's eyes, the way he looked at her, not like a woman, but like property, a purchase, a deal. Her father had told her once, love comes later, security first. But Amara didn't want security without freedom. She didn't want a future where she could not breathe. She wanted to choose her own life. Her hands trembled as she held the railing of the balcony. Down on the street, the city was fully waking now. Buses, voices, footsteps, engines. Lagos was alive. A taxi pulled up. A young man stepped out. Daniel. She didn't know his name yet. She didn't know his story. She didn't know he was going to change her life. But something about him was different. A tired man's eyes, but strong. A backpack over his shoulder. Someone who had survived things he never talked about. He didn't look up at her. Not yet. Her mother's voice came from inside the house. Amara, it is time to dress. Her heartbeat stopped. Her chest tightened. Her future felt like a cage closing around her. At that moment, something inside her broke free. No more silence. No more obedience. No more living for anyone else. With a quiet fire rising inside her soul, Amara made her decision. She was not going to marry Mr. Cunnell. She was going to run. Music fades to suspenseful hush. She grew up in the same old apartment building in Surulere. The walls were cracked. The roof sometimes leaked when the rain was stubborn, but was home. Children played football on the street until the sun disappeared. Neighbors argued, laughed, borrowed salt and greetings. Life was hard, yes, but it was warm. Her father used to laugh then. He would lift Amara onto his shoulders and call her his bright child. Her mother would sing softly while cooking beans, stirring slowly over an old stove. The smoke would rise into the small kitchen, but the songs made the smoke feel lighter. The world was not easy, but there was hope. Then everything changed. The factory where her father worked closed down. Suddenly, the house that once carried laughter felt quiet. Bills arrived like enemies. The neighbors who once smiled began to whisper. Her mother started selling akra by the roadside, waking while the sky was still dark, hands always smelling of oil and pepper. Her father stopped smiling. He sat more, talked less. A shadow grew inside him, but Amara kept studying. She read her books under candlelight, breathing smoke and determination. She believed education was her escape, that if she worked hard enough, she could lift them all. And she did well. So well that she earned a scholarship to Lagos State University. She dreamed of finishing school, getting a job, and buying her mother a real shop, a place with shade, a counter, and a stove that didn't burn her hands. But dreams are fragile. In her final year, her father became sick. The hospital bills rose like walls around them. The money finished. The prayers stretched. Help did not come. And her father changed. He stopped looking at her with pride. He began looking at her like responsibility, a burden, a bargaining chip. Then came Mr. Cunnell, wealthy, well-dressed, a man whose shoes shined too much, whose smile didn't reach his eyes. He offered to pay the medical bills. He offered to take care of the family. But his offer was not free. In return, he wanted Amara. Her father called it God's blessing. Her mother said maybe love will grow later. The neighborhood women whispered at least she'll live comfortable. But to Amara, it felt like a cage. Still, she was their only child. She tried to swallow her fear. She tried to obey. She tried to silence her heart. But something inside her refused to die. That small voice inside her chest, the one that remembered joy, dreams, freedom, kept whispering, "This is not your life. Run while you still can." It happened on a quiet evening. One of those evenings where the world feels tired and the heart feels heavier than the body. Amara went to church that day, not to pray for a happy marriage, but to gather the strength to escape it. The church was small. The walls were old. The cross at the front had a crack running through it, as if even faith itself had been wounded once. But the sunset came through the window gently, like it was trying to offer comfort only light can give. The choir wasn't singing loudly, just a soft hymn, a song that felt like a sigh. Amara sat near the back, her hands held together, her eyes lowered, her chest full of words she could not speak. She prayed without voice, without sound. "God, show me a door, even a small one." And then she noticed him, a young man sitting alone in the third row, head bowed, hands clasped, not begging, not questioning, just trying. His name was Daniel, though she didn't know it yet. He didn't look like someone who had it easy. There was something quiet about him, the kind of quiet that comes after you've been broken, but chose to keep living anyway. He wasn't handsome in a loud, Legos party kind of way. No gold chain, no flashy clothes, just a calm face, soft eyes, and tired shoulders that still refused to bend. Their eyes met just for a second, but in that second, something passed between them. Not romance, not lightning, not a fairy tale spark, just recognition. Two people carrying a weight they couldn't name. Two hearts asking the same silent question. "Are you tired too?" Daniel gave her a small nod, respectful, gentle. Amara responded with the smallest smile, the kind that escapes before sadness notices. And in that brief, simple moment, for the first time in months, Amara felt seen, not as someone's daughter, not as someone's bride, not as a responsibility or transaction, just herself. And somewhere deep inside her, hope, very small, very quiet, opened its eyes. They saw each other again, not in church this time, but on the street in front of the small Acra stall where Amara's mother worked every morning. Daniel was buying breakfast. Amara was helping her mother serve. Their eyes met, this time with recognition, not surprise. He smiled first, a small one, the kind that says, "I remember you." Amara smiled back. They talked, nothing deep at first, just simple words. "How is school? How is the city treating you?" These Lagos buses will finish someone one day. Light conversation, gentle, harmless. But slow conversations have a way of finding the soft places inside a person. Soon they were talking about things that weren't small. Amara spoke about studying under candlelight, about trying to build a life that didn't drag her parents behind struggle. Daniel told her he came to Lagos after losing his mother in Port Harcourt. No siblings, no one waiting for him back home. Just work, rent, and survival. He didn't describe his pain. He didn't need to. It was there in his pauses, in the way his voice softened when he spoke about her, in the way he looked at the ground before looking back up. They laughed once, a real laugh, the kind that feels like the sky clearing after rain. For a brief moment, life felt light again. But not everything is invisible to a mother. That evening, when they closed the stall, Amara helped her mother wash the Acra pan, the warm water running over their hands, the sky turning darker. Her mother didn't shout. She didn't accuse. She simply spoke, quietly, carefully, "My child, be careful. A heart pulled in two directions will tear." Amara's hand stilled, because she knew what her mother meant. She knew the engagement dress was already hanging in her room. She knew her father had already decided her future. She knew the path waiting for her had no joy in it. But here, with Daniel, she had started to remember how it felt to breathe. She swallowed hard, because love hadn't come yet, but hope had. And sometimes, hope is even more dangerous. The day before the wedding, everyone acted as if joy was in the air, but Amara felt nothing. Her family arranged a dinner to celebrate the union. The restaurant was decorated with gold ribbons and loud laughter, but the happiness felt borrowed, forced, heavy. Amara sat quietly, her lace wrapper tight around her waist, her hands resting in her lap. Her mother kept adjusting her head tie, smiling too much, the kind of smile that hides fear. Across the room, Mr. Cunnell laughed with one of his friends. Loud, careless, as if nothing in the world could touch him. Amara wasn't trying to listen, but his voice reached her anyway. She's obedient. That's what I like. Her heart paused. She won't give me stress. Her chest tightened. I don't need love. I need control. Control. The word hit her like cold water. Not love, not partnership, not understanding. Control. Everything around her suddenly felt far away. The noise, the lights, the music, it all blurred. Her hands shook under the table. Cunnell leaned in, his fingers gripping her chin, not tender, not gentle, but claiming. Smile. And the room shattered inside her. Not outside. Everything looked the same. But inside, something broke. Clean through, like a glass plate hitting the floor. She excused herself. No one stopped her. She walked outside the restaurant, the night air cold against her hot face. She leaned against the wall, trying to breathe, but she didn't breathe. She cried, silently, because some pain is too deep for sound. The city lights blurred through her tears. The world kept moving, but her life felt like it had stopped. A future that didn't feel like living, but like slow burial. Her voice came out in a whisper, trembling, raw, almost broken. I cannot live like this. Not another day, not another moment, not another sacrifice of herself. In that moment, under the dark sky, with tears still warm on her cheeks, Amara chose herself, even if it cost everything. At dawn, the world was quiet, but Amara's heart was not. Inside her room, her mother was laying out the wedding beads, red, gold, shining like a celebration. But to Amara, they looked like chains. She didn't speak. She didn't cry. She simply moved. She picked up a small purse, one simple dress, her ID card, no jewelry, no shoes other than the ones already on her feet, no gifts, no memory she didn't want to carry. This was not a dramatic escape. No loud door slamming, no shouting behind her, just a girl finally choosing to breathe. She stepped out of the room quietly, the veil she was supposed to wear trailing slightly behind her on the floor, like the ghost of a life she refused to enter. She walked down the staircase of the old building, breathing fast, hands shaking. The street outside was already alive. Vendors setting up tables, hawkers arranging goods, neighbors greeting each other. Someone called her name. She didn't look back. Her feet moved faster. Her heart pounded louder. The world blurred, cars, voices, bodies, noise. Everything felt like too much. She reached the side of the main road. Taxis were passing. Engines roared. Her pulse was racing. She didn't know where to go. She just knew she couldn't stay. Her breath trembled. And then she saw him, Daniel, standing near a cab, adjusting the strap of his worn backpack, like he was just another person beginning just another day. But for her, he became the door she prayed for. Her feet moved before her thoughts did. She reached him. Her hand grabbed his arm. Her voice wasn't steady. It broke. Please, help me. I need to leave here. Now. Daniel looked at her, really looked. He didn't see a bride. He saw fear, desperation, a soul trying not to drown. He didn't ask questions. He didn't ask why. He didn't ask where. He simply nodded. A small, sure nod, like someone who understood pain, without needing an explanation. And right there, on a busy Lego street, with buses honking, vendors shouting, life moving as loudly as ever, Amara's destiny changed direction. 3 days passed. 3 days of quiet hiding, of hearts learning how to breathe again. Amara stayed in the small room at Daniel's cousin's apartment, a room barely big enough for 2 people to stand side by side. Yet for the first time in her life, she felt safe. But peace never lasts long when it threatens the ego of a powerful man. Cunnel came. Not alone. He arrived in a dark SUV, stepping out with 2 men behind him, anger heavy in his eyes. The neighborhood felt the heat before a word was spoken. Doors opened. Curtains shifted. The street held its breath. He didn't knock gently. He banged like he owned the world. Daniel opened the door. Calm, steady, not a man seeking trouble, but not one who would run from it either. Cunnel's voice exploded. "Where is she? She is mine." And the echo carried to the compound like thunder. Daniel didn't move. He simply stood there, shoulders squared, body outside the doorway, guarding the light behind him. But Amara did not hide. She stepped forward, past Daniel, past fear, past the version of herself that once stayed silent to keep peace. Her voice wasn't loud. It didn't need to be. "I am not yours." Cunnel froze, confusion flashing first, then disbelief. She continued, her words clear, unshaking. "I am not something to own. I am not a debt to be collected. I choose my life." The compound grew silent. Mothers paused. Children stopped playing. Voices lowered. Everyone was watching. Cunnel's face tightened, not from heartbreak, but from public humiliation. He could force a signature. He could buy a family silence. But he could not control a woman who had found her voice. And for a moment, just one, even he understood that. His jaw locked. His pride cracked. He turned away. No victory for him today. Not because someone fought him with fists, but because truth stripped away the illusion of his power. He got into his car. The door slammed. The engine roared. But Amara remained standing, not running, not trembling, but rooted in her own strength. For the first time, she didn't feel afraid. She felt free. Days passed. Then weeks. Life didn't suddenly become perfect, but it became gentle. Amara stayed at Daniel's aunt's home in Yaba, a small, warm place filled with the smell of fried plantain and pepper stew. The rooms were tiny, the walls old, but there was peace there, the kind of peace you notice only when you've lived too long without it. During the day, Amara helped at the aunt's food stall. She tied her scarf, rolled up her sleeves, and served plates of rice and beans to office workers and students. The work was simple, honest, real, no lace wrappers, no forced smiles. Just life, lived one breath at a time. Daniel worked too. Late nights designing posters, logos, flyers, whatever small jobs came his way. He'd return tired, his eyes carrying the weight of the world, but still, he would smile when he saw her. He never asked her to explain what she didn't want to say. He never reminded her of what she owed. He never claimed her as something to keep. He just stood with her. Some nights, they sat on the small balcony, the city humming in the background, generator sounds rising and falling like restless waves. They shared tea from one cup, talk about memories, regrets, and futures that still felt uncertain. No confessions, no rush, no promises made in desperation. Just laughter, quiet, soft, healing. The kind that happens when 2 broken pieces realize they are not broken alone. Amara didn't fall in love suddenly. There was no dramatic moment. No music swelling. It was slower than that, gentler than that, like learning to breathe again after being underwater too long. She didn't choose Daniel because he saved her. She chose him because, when the world tried to own her, he simply let her be. Months passed. The city shifted through rain, heat, and harmattan dust. Life didn't turn perfect, but it became steady. One evening, Amara and Daniel returned to Surrelir, not to apologize, not to bow, not to explain every step of the journey, but simply to show that she was alive, safe, and herself. Her mother opened the door. For a long moment, she said nothing. No shouting, no blame, just trembling hands rising to cup her daughter's face. Her eyes filled, not with anger, but with relief and a sadness that softened into acceptance. The world had already punished all of them enough. No more was needed. Daniel bowed his head respectfully. He didn't speak much. He didn't need to. Sometimes presence is louder than words. Her father sat quietly in the corner, older now, the weight of his decisions heavy on his shoulders. He didn't demand she return. He didn't mention Connell. He simply nodded, a small, fragile gesture of letting go. Time had done what arguments could not. Weeks later, in the same small church where they first noticed one another, with the sun slipping into the windows just the same, they stood side by side. No choir, no glittering gowns, no crowd, no performance. Just two people who had been broken by life and slowly, patiently rebuilt themselves. They exchanged small, simple vows. Not promises of forever, but promises to try, to stay honest, to stay kind, to choose each other, even on the difficult days. There was no applause, just a quiet moment, a shared breath, and hearts that were no longer afraid. For the first time in her life, Amara didn't feel like she was running. She felt like she had finally arrived. She could breathe, truly breathe,